Hey, it's Daryl at a 10-foot truck, good attitudes, hauling and junk removal. Just wanted to make a video here, kind of about how things are really starting to slow down because of many factors, not just the economy, but of course it's coming into fall and winter. You know, things just slow down for especially for deliveries and junk removal. That kind of just starts slowing down naturally, but there's other factors like the expensive gas, expensive rents. Like I just read today in the news about the local area, and I'm local. I just moved out to Spokane area about a year and 8 months ago. Yeah, maybe it's almost coming up on close to 2 years that I've been out here. And the rents were, when I came out here, I came out from Seattle. And of course, Seattle is the rents there are incredible. I mean, they're really high. And it's not always been that way, because 20 years ago, Seattle was actually fairly reasonable. But lately, it's just been extremely expensive there because of all the big tech companies and you know, the houses gone up and all that. Well, now out here, the rents people were coming out here because it was fairly reasonable to buy a house, and also it was very reasonable to rent. I remember when I first came out here, rents were like, you know, one bedroom you can get for $600, maybe $800. Well, they've gone up 32% in the last 2 years, and we're talking like now one bedroom is like $1,700, $1,800, two bedrooms like $2,000. And out in this area, it's not like there's big high tech jobs and that. It's not like Seattle where you have these executives making, you know, millions of dollars. I mean, there are people here who make a lot of money, but it's not really the same as Seattle. So it's kind of shocking to people who grew up here, who have been here a while, and see the rents going up like that. Me, I just came in here, and you know, at the wrong time, I guess. Luckily, you got a place that's fairly reasonable, and the rents won't be going up there because of the. It's not the same as the apartments out here. It's not the same as renting an apartment, where these newer apartments are costing a lot of money for rents, and it's forcing a lot of people out of the area. Of course, we're out here in eastern Washington, and then Idaho is right next to here. And Idaho, the rents are going up there too. Coeur d'Alene and Post Falls and all that, they're going up too. And then even in Montana, I mean, it's just everywhere you go, pretty much. There's nowhere to go. I don't think there's anywhere to go where you can get cheap rent anymore. So that's affecting the entire economy. I think when housing costs and gas prices are going up, gas is almost up to $4. Food's going up, and then I was just reading about a supply chain shortage. And then cars were extremely expensive. I mean, you couldn't even find a car. Car lots are like having a hard time even getting inventory. So through this coronavirus and through whatever chip manufacturing and all that. So the used car market exploded, and there's like all kinds of cars for ridiculous prices for what they should be. But also, I think just like the housing market is starting to have a turnaround, now you're starting to see the bubble kind of go the other direction. It's starting to pop, where people are having a harder time selling their houses. They're not able to get the this extra, you know, bonus, like people are overbidding on houses. And the same I'm seeing with cars. They're starting to drop a little even on the used cars, but they're being flooded, especially with trucks. And I was thinking about that the other day, because around here, everybody, you know, there was this huge trend to buy big pickup trucks, and everybody wants to have used to be when in the 80s and 90s, if you had money, you would buy like a sports car, or you buy a Lexus, or like a Porsche, or some kind of fancy sports car. Dump your money into that if you're trying to show off. Well, lately, the big show-off vehicle is these big, what I call like these big fancy, you know, Cadillac kind of pickup trucks. Not Cadillacs, but they're all decked out with all the nice, you know, computer stuff and all the nice gear and interior. And those are the luxury cars, or the big trucks. Of course, they don't have that good of gas mileage. And I think, and they're really expensive. I mean, I see some of these pickup trucks going for $80,000, maybe even more than that. It's ridiculous. So there's a lot of people driving around in those. I notice around here, everybody's got to have their big pickup truck. But I think those are they're starting to realize, well, I'm wasting all this money on gas. And now the gas is continuing to go up. And they're commuting in these big trucks. They're not really using them for hauling. They're just using them kind of as a luxury vehicle. So you're going to start to see a lot of those trucks hitting the market. I've seen them, and a lot of them, the prices are going down. Earlier this year, I saw them way up. They're overpriced. And now I've seen the prices are starting to come down on those trucks and cars. So it's probably if you have a little bit of money to spend on a car, I'd probably wait a little bit. I bet you the deals on the cars are going to go down just as well as houses. But the rents seem to stay. It seems like in these kind of crises, the rents just stay the same. They'll stay once they're up, they're up. They stay that way. So it still makes it difficult. And so people can't spend as much money. And I noticed today, when I first moved here, it was kind of a bad time. It was in the winter time, and here it snows, so I really couldn't do my truck business right off the bat because it was in the middle of the winter, and there's not a lot of business during that time, plus drive around in the snow. So I didn't do a lot, but I did just put a few ads to see, just to test the market when I first moved out here in the winter of 2019. Is that it? Yeah, 2019 November, late November, I think. And I was getting calls, and I got some jobs right off the bat, and I was surprised because I only put like one ad and just kind of see what happened. I was just experimenting, and so I was getting jobs through Craigslist, and meeting people and getting some pretty good jobs and meeting some good customers until about April, and that's when this whole coronavirus thing started coming in, and it was like shutting down furniture businesses, the stores, everything's kind of shutting down. So it started to kind of slow down. So I just kind of decided to just can that for a while, and I started doing grocery delivery and food delivery because that was big back when the coronavirus. And I had an all-wheel drive car, so I could drive anywhere in the snow, and so that was very busy, and it was getting pretty good tips. So I just started doing that for pretty much, and I kept doing that all the way into the summer and through the summer, and I didn't really market the truck at all because I was like, well, I'm doing pretty good with this, and I don't really want to bother with that because a lot of these furniture stores and stuff are not open, and I was trying to do what I had done in the past in Seattle, which was and Portland, which was contracting with furniture stores, and I did really well with that. So, but once I moved, of course, I lost all those connections and the contracts. And I was going to try to do that here, but of course, I never got off the ground with that with the COVID-19. And then so I just kind of kept doing the food apps and just adding all these different apps to do on the car. And then when this spring came out, I decided, I'm going to try to start marketing because everything seems to be opening up, furniture stores and different things, and I could probably get pretty good business here. And then so I started marketing, and I really wasn't getting the response that I did when I first got here. And that's because I think things are getting so expensive, and people aren't really buying stuff like that anymore. Like going and buying brand new furniture. Not everybody. A lot of people are strapped, so they're not getting as many customers. Plus the rents and everything, and there's a huge increase in real estate, and the prices are going up. It caused kind of a slowdown. And I've still been marketing through the summer. I got jobs, and I was getting customers, and then I decided maybe trying a little bit of junk removal because I wasn't getting a lot of deliveries. But one thing I did notice is that I used to be able to, just put a few ads up, and I would get, right away I'd get calls. Now it's like I'm hammering the Craigslist and putting up tons of ads, and it's very, very slow. So I think I'm going to start going to the realtors' offices, like I've heard suggested on other websites. And I've never had to do that before. Of course, I was focused on getting contracts to stores, so I didn't really think much about realtors. Although I would get stagers who would call me because they were, supplying the furniture for their staging. And so that's kind of connected with real estate. So I did meet a few realtors, and I did some clean out for realtors and that kind of thing, but I never really focused on that. But I'm hearing, now that if you're going to do junk removal, which I might do more of, that you really want to focus on talking to realtors. So I think I'm going to start doing that because the Craigslist is very saturated out here. And that's another thing. I think a lot of people just started when the coronavirus came in, a lot of people started doing their own businesses and starting junk removal and that kind of thing. And so all those factors is going to push me into different ways of marketing, because I guess I was kind of spoiled living in a bigger city. I didn't really ever have to, like, when I did do flyers, it really didn't pay off too much for me. I would put flyers all over the storage units and stores and everything. And to me, it was, back then, I just had to put a couple Craigslist ads and I would get work and then referrals, and I never really had to put any energy into flyers or going out and talking to people. I just kind of came natural. I would just be doing jobs, and I would end up in a store picking up stuff out of the store, and they would say, hey, can you, I have a lot of customers, and pretty soon I'd be, offered a contract to do through the stores. And I had several stores, and they would even contact me through Facebook, and I would get contracts through the store, and even government contracts were calling me through Facebook, or referrals, and all kinds of stuff. So it was very easy back then, and now it's extremely challenging. So I don't know what's going to happen with the economy. It looks like there's a housing bubble, and it looks like it's going to be some tough times. It's kind of like 2008, and that was pretty tough back then too. So and plus now the gas and all this other stuff, and of course all the shutdowns that have really kind of decimated a lot of restaurants and small businesses. And you got that to look at too. So it's going to be a challenge, continue to market and continue to get something going. And now we're heading, for me here in the wintertime, things do slow down. So I'm going to be really creative. So I'm just kind of watching a lot of videos on junk removal, because I've never done that. I took that as a, really pushed or even marketed that at all. That just came natural when I would do moving and stuff. People would want junk removed, but I'm seeing that there's good money in that. But also, it's just another opportunity that I can market for that. I can market for deliveries. I can market to the stores. I can market to different areas, where before I was just deliveries, and I would get all kinds of calls, and I'd get all kinds of work. Now I'm having to use these apps like Roadie and LoadUp just to get some jobs, just to get something. And I was doing some tire deliveries for Roadie, and those were good, but now I'm not. That's getting competitive too. People with trucks are wanting to get extra work now. I noticed that it wasn't that competitive before. The food apps are getting competitive. Used to be you just turn on the lunchtime, you turn it on, and you would get just one after the other, and now it's slow. And now I have to wait till dinner time later on. At night, when people aren't doing it as much, that's when it's a little easier to get. But so that's not like, I can't really cherry pick as much as I used to on those apps. So I think, I don't know, maybe it's just this region, but I think, some places like Seattle where there's so many people and there's so much money there, it may take a while for the people who are doing business there to feel kind of the pinch, because there's such a demand and because it's such an expensive place to live there. There's not much of a supply for a lot of service workers there. So I don't think a lot of people probably are still going to do well there. Here, there's a lot of service workers here. There's a lot of construction workers. There's a lot of, like junk removal, movers, plumbers, a lot of those kind of handyman type people in this area, and always has been. So the supply is very high here. So, and the population is growing, but when things get tight, I think, of course, since there's that huge supply and not as much demand, it's going to be very competitive. So if you're in a bigger city, you may not feel the pinch right away, but I think at some point people will feel some kind of pinch. Here, where it's coming early, it's hitting pretty fast. I'm seeing, and so I'm being challenged in how I'm going to make money without having to go get a W-2, because I think the last W-2 I did was in 2011. I did a part-time cleaning gig because I think, or 2010 maybe. It was around after 2008 debacle. Things were pretty tight, and I was having to do whatever I could, and so I did get a W-2 part-time because I wasn't getting as much work. And before that, I'd quit my W-2 2007, and I really hadn't done anything but just doing my own business, being self-employed. So I really don't want to have to get pushed into another W-2. I really don't like working for other people, but if it happens, it happens. So I'm trying other things to see what happens. I mean, see how I can get, different angles of marketing, different ideas, and what kind of businesses, other businesses I can do, side type of businesses. Of course, in the winter, shoveling snow, that kind of thing. We'll see. Anyway, that's my rant for the day. Just that I'm starting to notice a really, like slowdown. Whatever, I don't know how you guys are out there in different cities feeling, but out here in Spokane area, Idaho area, it's getting pretty competitive in my work type of business. But of course, it is getting towards winter, so that could be a result of that too. But there's still, it's still nice out, still nice weather, so there's still time to, where that's easier to work in this kind of weather than when it gets to be snowy. That's about it, I think. I think I'm gonna look back on Roadie, see if I can get a job, or get one of those tire deliveries, and then if not, I'm gonna go back on Uber Eats, and see if I can get anything there. But so far, it's been really slow. I mean, I had the app on it, like, I turn it on at noon, and right at lunchtime, usually the lunch rush is pretty booming, and nothing at all. And then I got one that canceled. So I'm like, okay, that's it. So if you don't get anything during lunch, then you gotta wait till dinner, and then, because I don't like to go in between that because it gets really kind of busy traffic-wise, so I wait till like 6:30, 7 to get that later dinner rush, and sometimes you get more pay on those. We'll see how that goes, and I'm hoping this weekend, I started putting a bunch of ads up on Craigslist, and then, so this weekend I hope to get something on the truck. If not, I'm gonna go take the truck out to the realtor offices and pass out flyers. I'm gonna make flyers on my printer, and then see if I can meet anybody here for maybe to get to some clean outs or something like that. You never know. See what happens. Probably do another video this weekend, see what happens, or if I get something going tomorrow. Other than that, 10-foot truck, good attitudes. And that's another thing I was thinking about. I think I'm just gonna stick with the 10-foot truck right now, just because that's what I have. And then when I get the van, I'm planning on getting a van at some point. Then I'm gonna start seeing if I could change the name, or maybe I'd have two services going at the same time. The 10-foot truck and the good attitudes junk removal. So that is something that I thought about. We'll see. Have a good one. Bye.